G'day, welcome back. Today I'm continuing my video series on unusual checkmates. So far I have done the smothered mate and then the checkmate by king, checkmate by castling and so on. It mainly still has a chess software focus, so I'll keep it in that series. And today I'm going to look at checkmates by en passant, which is obviously quite a rare beast. And I'm going to sort of first of all show you how one changes the scoutfish code to find them. And then there's not many games, actually. And then once we've found them, just have a quick look at a few. There's a very famous recent one where Jean-Louis Hammer defeated Magnus-Carlsen in that way. So we might have a bit of a quick look at that game. Okay, so just go to the capture screen and have a look at what we have to do. Let me bring this... Okay, so just go through the... basically 3 steps when we want to add a rule. So we want to add a rule to capture en passant when it is checkmate and just show us those games, right? And the first thing we had to do is you go into the file name here, search.h. You've got to add the rule in the enum. So there's rule en passant mate, and you can see I've got rule mate already. So basically you do that. So now it's got to basically assign an integer to the list of rules, and it will consider that rule, right? So that's what you have to do in the definitions file. And then in the run this file, scout.cbv, this is where you've got to do 2 things for the en passant mate rule. First of all, you've got to handle the, I kept on calling, I think they're calling a sort of Python dictionary, but basically JSON. The query you input is a sort of like a JSON. And when you see en passant mate as one of the fields, then I basically copy, like before, maybe we just copied it and said, okay, we'll store the list of moves which the person is talking en passant mate about. Now, later on, you'll see I pretty much ignore the list of moves because en passant mate is so rare that actually doesn't matter so much. So now it's got a list of moves, if you were using it, which you're ready to search for as you go through each game and you go through each move and you search for things. And let's go and look for it. Here's the section. Once again, it'll make more sense if you've seen the previous video. So first of all, we check if you're the last move of the game, right? So there is a move, but the next move is null, right? And then I just basically say, I think I don't even bother with looking. I don't even do. I've got rid of this comparison for the move. I just said, okay, if it's an en passant move, then we set this variable to true. So now, when you actually you do go through one more time when you've sort of passed the last move, and if the last move of the game was en passant, then we check if it's checkmate, and the way we check if it's checkmate is that the person to move now has no moves and he is in check. And if that's the case, great. This rule is satisfied and it will add it to the list. So that's 3 things. You've got to define this variable you're using, enum, and then you have to process the input, and then you have to have the search rule. Right. So when you've done that, I'll just quit out of here. I've run it already. You go make build arch equals x86-64. It's already been built, no changes, and then you run it. And so there is a list of moves there. That would be the list of moves if I paid any attention to them, but I didn't bother because there we go. We have a grand total of 16 games. Only 16 games out of 9 million. That's a pretty small percentage. So I think we had a couple of thousand smothered mates, and then we've got 100 and something king move checkmates, and I think it was 25 castling checkmates, and now we've got 16 en passant checkmates. So the list is getting smaller and smaller. Cool. Anyway, good. So this, basically I'm doing this is probably a throwaway. I wouldn't use that search function again, but that's good. We've got the answer we want. And now what I'm going to do is we're going to have a look at a few of those games. I've loaded up in this PGN already. Let's go to the first game, and then in Skid versus PC, there's this filter to last move, so you're always on the last move. So let's see what this has done. So basically we've gone some checkmates, we ran the Python, Scoutfish, Skid versus PC, and we're going to say basically there are 2 types of discovered checkmates which happen here, right? So this is the last move, so we've got to get back move. Okay, so here we go. This is a game Farkas Burkes, so white applied check. I checked most of these en passant mates were real, kind of necessary blocks, and so it's discovered check en passant mate. Obviously, there's the bishop. Bishop's protected by the pawn and covers that square. A couple of squares there blocked in by own pieces, and then the queen covering the other square, the knight as well. So there we go. That's a nice example of en passant checkmate. As I say, so damn rare. If you get one of these in your games, you're a very lucky guy. Let's go to the next game. We'll go back one move and have a look at this. Okay, so the previous one was discovered. This is actually the check comes from the pawn itself. So it's the pawn discovering the coup de grace as well as being en passant. Shoot back one move. Okay, so black lashes out in desperation. En passant checkmate with the pawn. So the next one. Go back one move. This is quite interesting. Once again, we have a check. Pawn gets pushed. En passant. Discover checkmate. Very neat. Nothing can block it. Yeah. Keep seeing the pattern here. Oops. And here you can see that the black is in desperate trouble here. Pushes the pawn in the hopes that maybe white doesn't realize there's en passant. And in this case, it's the pawn is delivering the checkmate. All the other squares are covered by different pieces. Yeah, you can see this is a familiar pattern. It's often a diagonal check, blocked by a two-move pawn move. Then the en passant delivers the discount checkmate. We've seen a few of those. Queen, the bishop. That's the pawn delivering the checkmate. Pawn delivering the checkmate. This is a discovered check one. So I think you get the picture. What we'll do now is look at the very last game, which is a game we said we'd have a look at. Go to the start. This is Hammer versus Carlsen. This is I think it was a 3-minute game or something. You'll see people such, I think Gotham Chess has covered this game. Just going through the game quickly. I'm not going to analyze it closely. The key positions later anyway. It's kind of quite a unstructured game actually. Queens are off. You know what's going to happen here. You wouldn't expect too much to happen. Check. Okay, this is where mistakes start to happen, I believe. Knight g5, check, take it. Nice discovered check. Check. Checkmate. Another one of those discovered checkmate by bishop. We go back to this check move. The game's even at this stage. Carlsen should have just dropped his bishop back and covered that way. The putting a much linking up allowed that combination. Quite a nice combination by Hammer, and it's quite interesting because Carlsen's popped up in quite a lot of my videos on unusual positions and games and so on because he's played so many games. He's always challenging himself, I guess, and that's why he has the pleasure or displeasure of being beaten by a en passant checkmate. Let's say there's only 16 games in the database I was looking at, which is over the board database rather than the there's a lot of online games. There might be quite a few games where it's happened, but these are the list I had to work with. Okay, good. So just a very short video today, but I thought it was quite interesting to look at that. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that, and thank you very much for watching.